Welcome to the Wakefield Doctrine, the theory of Clark, Scott's, and Rogers. This may or may not become a regular feature. Watch the accident, there we go. Maybe not a regular feature, but we'll do a once a week morning blog on our way into the office. So let's, trying to keep it short too. It is now 8:50 at my local time. The topic in the last few days have been offshoots of the road trope 213, and one of the interesting topics that evolve, and thanks to Melanie and Cindy and Janine and them and everyone for the comments, because I'm finding now, interestingly enough, that the comments to some posts are generating questions, topics, if you will, that I don't necessarily, or have not necessarily, focused on in the posts, the regular written posts. And you know, long ago when we started this, it was thought that this would be a conversation, this Wakefield Doctrine blog. But and I'm thinking of Melanie and I think Cindy, both wrote comments that contained not necessarily questions, but confirmation observations, to coin a new term. And they centered around, most recently, the concept of sharing. Clark's, and it's been established out of this road trip, that the Clark worldview contains this thing of a need to share. I think I wrote in the post that it was in a curiously intimate relationship with people that Clarks have vis-a-vis the sharing of adventures, road trips, and like that. And I think we've looked at it and realized that there are two things happening there. We're the outsider. So when we talk about sharing, it isn't the sharing of a Scott, which is ripping the carcass apart and letting the strongest eat first, nor is it the sharing of a Roger, which is the ruminating and grinding of the common food that they all do and they spit up and share amongst each other. It's a sharing that Clarks do. I hope you guys are ready for this. In a sense, it's an offering. Hey, look, I did something neat. Can I hang out with you guys? I'm meaning this not literally, of course. You guys know that. More figuratively. But it's an offering to the world, because we're not of that. There's no assumption on the part of a Clark that anyone would be interested in what it is that passes for a life. Not on the basic level of the outsider. So this sharing is that. It's you know, a moment of, let's hey, look what I did, and people will be curious about that. Clarks are not. So that's a big part of the sharing, the concept of sharing. And also in today's comments, a reply to Melanie's comment, it was the idea that inherent in that is a risk. And it's something that doesn't happen every time, fortunately, and it isn't always bad. But we Clarks have all experienced that, hey, look at this, and it's interesting, and then something happens and we get lashed out at by the world. Well, I'm saying that generally. Specifically, it may be a Roger who, while we share, feels that they're not getting sufficient attention, or it may be a Scott who, while we're sharing, smells blood and gets hungry. But we get lashed back at, and I'm bringing this up and making a point of it to other Clarks. Not that we can't deal with it, which we do, but that as Clarks at certain times we have a state in which there's when we get lashed back at, our natural state worldview says that we tend to assume that, okay, they must be right, I did something wrong. And even that's not a problem. We all learn to live with that. But it's sometimes there's a reverb effect. It comes back, ties into another bad thing that we might be going through, and it all cycles back. So for Clarks out there, the point of this Wakefield Doctrine thing, the blog and all this other stuff, is simply that I know what you mean. And it's not you, it's them, a reversal of what we often say about the doctrine. That to me is the good of it. I've found, talking to people and writing and this doctrine thing, is that there have been times that I know now I would have had less of a good time had I not known about the Wakefield Doctrine. So that's all I'm going to say on that. That's part one. Part two is the other part about the need for sharing, the intimate relationship that Clarks have, is that in our world, it's full of stuff. And when I go to Media Creator, that's a real thing, in a sense, for a Clark, that I'm sharing with other people, the others, the Rogers and Scotts. That's real for them too. And you know how it is, Clarks. We live in a place where real, not real, imaginary, concrete, okay, they're all there. And we don't even bother most of the time. I would submit most of us Clarks, we don't even bother labeling, hey, this is the real one, gotta set that for a different emotional use, and this is unreal, so let's not trot this out in front of a pack of Scots. So it's fun to know that we have some real things in our world. So the two things, and then again, at the risk of repeating myself, I want to thank all of the readers who commented, because that's given me a sense of, okay, let's talk about this. And the goal of this whole damn blog is simply to say, hey, look, this is the Wakefield Doctrine. It's kind of cool. It's a way to look at how we behave, how the world behaves, and it's different enough that it might be useful to you. And so in the course of the day today, you may say, oh yeah, that the doctrine thing, it's like that. So that's all I got to say, and I went a little long, twice as long, 6 minutes. See ya.